going to start something now that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've been learning up about it, and it's turning this into beef tallow. I bought this from Pack and Save for $1 a kilo. I just called them and asked them if they had some, and they just put it aside for me and told me when to come in and get it. And it's beautiful beef fat. Look at that. Still got lots of meat on it. So I'm going to go and cut all the meat off it now and get it ready to go into the crock pot to render down. So now I've got to remove the bits of meat, which are still good bits of meat, and chop up the bits of fat. They're going straight into the slow cooker. Alright, we now have a crock pot full of fat. Lots of yummy meat for the dogs left over. And now we're going to fill this up with water. Next we're putting in salt, and we're not using anything that says iodized salt. I'm using this Himalayan pink salt, and it's about 3 tablespoons. Put the lid on, set it to low, and leave it for about 8 hours. And actually the amount of meat that is left in this pile here, I'm going to put into a pot and maybe make some soup or something with it, because for $1 a kilo, this is pretty cheap meat. Okay, this is the next day. I just put it on warm overnight. See how that's rendering down. Turned it back onto low. I'm going into town. I think it's got a little bit longer to go. Alright, I'm going to now strain the fat from the gristle and stuff. I haven't got cheesecloth, so I'm just going to improvise and use a tea towel, and I'm going to put it through a sieve into a bowl. See how the gristly bits are kind of sinking to the bottom? I think that's ready. Now this is really hot, so you have to be very careful. That's it, dripping out under there. And that is going to the dogs. And I'll just repeat this process until it's all done. Okay, this is what we're left with. That's going to the dogs. It's like jelly. And this is the tallow. It's very hot. I'm just going to cover it and leave it to set. It's about a week later since I did the beef tallow. We've been on holiday and come back. And I've come back and I'm just going to go through the next step, which is basically purifying the tallow that we've already made. So let's get started. This is our bowl of tallow. It's a lovely colour. We're going to get that out and basically scrape off any impurities that are left and repeat the process that we did in step 1. See all that jelly stuff on the bottom and the brown? This is jelly-like in the bottom. That can just go to the chickens. Now I'm basically just going to scrape off the discoloration, which is the impurities, and give it to the chickens. Scrape off all of that. I'm going to chop it up. Put it back in the slow cooker. We're going to add water. Very good amount of water. We're going to add our salt like we did last time. This is what removes the impurities from the tallow. And I'm going to do about the same as last time. I think it was about 3 tablespoons. Oh, it might be a bit much. Oh well. We're going to put the lid on. We're going to leave that now to get up to temperature. And then once it's simmering, bubbling, we're going to leave it for about an hour. I forgot to mention too, do it on low so that it doesn't burn. It's melting down nicely. Starting to simmer, so we'll leave it for an hour and then we'll be good to go. Our tallow has been simmering for about an hour, and so now I'm just going to go through and strain it like I did last time. You're supposed to use really fine muslin or cheesecloth, which I don't have yet. When I'm a professional I will. This time I'm just going to use a tea towel like I did last time. Worked well enough. And this time it's a whole lot quicker because there's no gristly chunky bits, so it sieves through much faster. Now it's just the same thing. We stick this in the fridge to cool and we have a look whether it needs another go at the end of this process. But this is looking pretty good and smelling pretty clean as well. Okay, it's been a couple of days since I did the second processing of the tallow, so I'm just going to have a look at it, see if it needs another go. I'm not sure what it looks like if it does need another go, but I'm just going to have a look. So this is what it looks like after its second go. It looks beautiful and white. I'm just going to see what's inside, see if the water underneath is like gelatin or not, or if it's pretty clear. Just sort of loosen the bowl like that. Look, you can sort of see some water on the coming off the top there. It looks pretty clear. Oh yep. There's the impurities at the bottom that we can just scrape off. And this water just looks like water. Woohoo! I think I'm just going to scrape this off, be done with it. And what we're left with is a beautiful lump of tallow. Now, from what I understand, the next step is to gently melt this down so that I can pour it into storage jars. And they've said to do that with a pot, with a tea towel or something laid in the bottom, and then a bowl inside so it gently melts it down. So I'm going to do that. Presume that's enough water. Tea towel. Set that in there and let that melt down. It's getting warm, starting to melt down. Melting down beautifully. Now the next step is to get the beautiful melted tallow into the jars without getting water into the jars, because sometimes there's traces of water at the bottom and you don't want that to go into the jars that you're storing the tallow in. So I'm going to ladle it gently into the jars. It's pretty exciting for me, this, you know. going to be a slow and gentle process. Just going to tip it on an angle so that any water that's in the bottom isn't going to get into the ladle. Can you see that there's little bits of water in there? Water at the bottom, it's all sort of formed at the bottom. We don't want to get that. See how it sort of comes in? You can see it pouring in there. We don't want that water in our tallow. So I might just leave it at that actually. All that effort, and that's what we've got. And it might seem like a whole lot of effort for a very little bit of product, but this is a process that has brought me great joy because it's just another skill added to the little filing tray in the mind. There's something really cool about bringing back these old skills and things that we just haven't been taught, but people have done for hundreds of years. So I'm really happy to be doing this. And this is the finished product. All that fat that we got from the supermarket, it's rendered down into these 2 jars. So there we have it, beef tallow, my very first try, and I'm really happy about it. This will solidify and will store well on the bench just for cooking, and like it'll last a long time on the bench. I'm going to be using it for soap, so I'm going to store mine in the fridge, and if you refrigerate it or freeze it, it's going to last a really, really long time. So there you go, beef tallow, yay!